Hello everybody, I'm Milenia, director of the Temple of Apollo, and today I'm going to introduce you to the Roman path by reading an excerpt of the book An Introduction to Roman Traditionalism, written by the Pontifex Maximus of the Gentile community Giuseppe Barbera. The excerpt is a chapter called The Temple, which concerns the methods through which a temple is erected. The Roman temple is a place of contact between the human and the divine. It is a square, a geometric form derived from the idea, espoused by the Pythagoreans as well, of reorganizing the four elements of nature. Each side of the square indicates a distinct element of nature, and the space within it is permeated by the remaining fifth element, which is the essence that allows contact between the human and divine world. It is for this reason that the temple on earth was used by the Auspex for performing the auguries, the process by which the divine messages of the gods were interpreted based on the flight of the birds. At the University of Rome La Sapienza, the archaeologist Andrea Carandini, as well as the epigraphist Silvio Pancera, have carried out some studies on these ancient practices. Thanks to these sources, we now know the way of the omens, but the interpretation methods were not known until a temple with an auguraculum was excavated with 9 stones, one in the center indicating the sun, and 8 other delimiters indicating the main cardinal points. In Andrea Carandini's exhibition on the foundation of Rome, which took place in 2000 Common Era at the bath of Diocletian, the example of an augural temple was reconstructed, and auspices were enacted according to the ancient texts. The temple on earth corresponds to an analogous temple in the heavens. The one in the heavens is the reflection of the earthly one, and it is the portion of the heavens in which the divine signs are manifested, and these signs are then interpreted by an augur. The auspices were consulted by the magistrates before taking an important decision, and every time they passed the line of the pomerium, the boundary between the Imperium Domi and the Imperium Maius. So, before embarking on military campaigns or carrying out political functions in the city. Similarly, the Sibylline books, which were a collection of oracular utterances, were consulted at other times. In his monumental work on the history of Rome, Titus Livius, Ab Urbe Condita, tells us that Numa Pompilius, the second king of Rome, before assuming the post of the king, had the auspices by means of an augur drawn for him. His description provides interesting insights into this practice. We provide here a translated version of the same. Upon being chosen to lead Rome, Numa Pompilius wanted that the gods should be consulted for him, just as his predecessor, Romulus, in founding the city, had drawn the auspices before taking over the kingdom. An augur was then summoned, and he led Numa to a rock. There, they both sat on a stone, facing the south. The augur sat on his left, with his head veiled, and he held in his right hand a litus, a hooked stick with no knots. Then, as they embraced the city and the countryside with their eyes and invoked the gods, the augur marked the space from east to west, and proclaimed the paths towards Nun Fortunate, the ones toward the north Unfortunate, mentally determining before him a point, the farther to which the eyes could reach. Then the augur passed the litus into his left hand, and set his right hand on Numa's head and prayed, Jupiter pater, si est fac unc Numam Pompilium, cuius ego caput teneo, regem Roma esse, uti tu signa nobis certa ad clarassis inter eos fines, quos feci. Jupiter, Father, if it is a divine decree that this Numa Pompilius, of whom I touch the head, be king of Rome, manifest to us sure signs among those limits that I have traced. Then the augur announced the auspices he wished to receive and availed them. Numa then descended from the auspicious place, having received the divine signs, and proclaimed the king. This augury of Numa exemplifies the function of the temple on earth and the temple in cielo, in whose limits the gods are invoked to communicate with the humans. Divination is, however, not the only purpose for a temple. The temple can be used in other ways for any other ritual by any priest. To the profane, it is forbidden to enter the inaugurated squares or the temples because, with their impurities, they could contaminate it and thus lead to a loss of its magical function. Between the architectural temple and the augural temple, consisting of a simple enclosed square, there is no difference, except that the architectural temple is always on a raised podium, and therefore, due to the presence of the walls, it is not possible to sit and turn around to look on the horizon to be able to draw the auspices. In the architectural temples, however, the interpretation of divine consent takes place in other ways. For example, the Aruspices were able to read the future through the interest of the animals sacrificed for ritual banquets. We will return to the sacred art later. A temple is, therefore, a physical place of contact with the supera, superior, and inferior dimensions. The temples dedicated to Hades were located close to caves or in semi-hypogean environments. This should not be surprising. Our observation should not stop on the simple and superstition conviction of contact with the entities that inhabit the interior of the earth or the underworld. These places do not exist in our external reality, but in a secret world difficult to perceive and penetrate. This dimension is closer to us than we can think. Ulysses easily finds a door through which to go to the underworld to sacrifice a black ram. In addition to physical structures created in places where gods have manifested their favors, there is a creature in nature capable of penetrating the secret world. This creature is permeated by the active divine essence more than our mind or dreams can imagine. It is the meeting point between the pan and the divine stars, which are higher and farthest from our planet and invisible even to our telescopes. The creature has within itself the potentiality of the divine par excellence. That creature is the human being. With his ability to adapt and change the surrounding nature according to his needs, the human being has been considered by the ancients as the perfect creature. He is the excellent creation of the Olympic gods and has the potential to attain their divinity. And it is from the man, says Vitruvius in his De Architectura, that the Doric order bases its proportions, as well as the most graceful, slender, and delicate Ionic order bases its proportions on the size of the woman. Our ancestors wanted to build the temples as perfect places for the perfect gods. So they found the inspiration for building what was sacred looking at Mother Nature, because nature is the physical reflection of divine perfection. In other words, nature is the reflection of the divine around us. In addition to the priests, the senators, who were free to hold meetings and make decisions in the presence of the deities, could also enter the Roman temples. A council of war would easily be held in the Temple of Mars, since the expert par excellence in this field would directly inspire those who had gathered in this temple. For example, when Cicero had to defend the Rhodians, who despite their loyalty to Rome risked losing their freedom, he decided to convene the Senate in the temple of Jupiter Stator. This is the temple that Romulus built following a vow he made for its erection during the mythical battle held in the city against the Sabines. A battle in which the Romans did not back away but kept their position with pride and faith. In the same way, the Rhodians remained faithful to Rome and asked the famous orator to take up the defense of their cause. So, in that temple of Jupiter that Romulus had built after prevailing over the Sabines, Cicero convinced the Roman senators about the Rhodian cause with the famous Oratio pro Rhodiensibus. As already mentioned, the temple is founded and dedicated to a deity in the place where the deity was manifested, either by the epiphanic appearance of the deity or by favor of the deity manifesting its will through the request of a devout practitioner of that deity's ritual worship. At other times, the temples are founded for the necessity of having a place of contact with the higher dimensions. The latter are well described in Cicero's Somnium Scipionis. First, when it was decided to erect a Roman temple, an augur had to exorcise the place from any kind of impurity and then trace and consecrate the square, where the cell would later be built. The architectural work was therefore carried out, always according to the esoteric criteria, so that the sacred place would bear sacred symbols. The temple could be dedicated to one or more deities, and for this the appropriate rituals were conducted by specially appointed priests. The foundation ritual and organization of the temple was decided by the pontifex, holder of the rules and laws of the sacred. Thank you very much for watching.